Hello. So this is a story about a family. Now, sometimes people think their own families are a little bit strange or unusual, but this is a story about a really unusual family. In this family, there was a mother and 3 sisters. Now, the mother, she had 4 eyes. She had 2 eyes in the side of her head, an eye in the middle of her forehead, and an eye at the back of her head, and her name was Four Eyes. The middle sister, she had 1 eye in her forehead, and she was called One Eye. The eldest sister, she had an eye in the middle of the forehead and 2 eyes at the side of her head, and her name was Three Eyes. And the youngest sister, who was a stepchild, well, she had 2 eyes, just where you and I have them. She was like normal people, and she was called, you can guess it, Two Eyes. Now the mother and the other 2 sisters were very jealous of Two Eyes, maybe because she looked like most other people look, and so they made her life a misery. They gave her all the cleaning and cooking and washing and mending to do. And at night, when the family sat down to a hot dinner, Two Eyes was only given a bowl of cold, watery porridge. Now, every morning, Two Eyes had to take the family sheep and goats away up the hill to graze. And sometimes she would go off looking for nuts and berries to eat because she was always so ravenously hungry. But in winter, there was nothing, and she was always so hungry. Well, one day, one of the goats gave birth to a little kid goat. Now, this kid goat was a little runt. Its mother would have left it to die. And Two Eyes, when she went home, she asked her stepmother if she could keep this little kid goat as a pet. And in a rare moment of kindness, the stepmother said yes. Two Eyes, oh, she loved that little goat. She carried it in her arms, she petted it, she fussed over it, and she told it all her secrets. And that little goat became her best and only friend in the whole wide world. And she took the little kid goat up with her to the hills when she took the rest up to graze. But one winter's day, she was really hungry, and she was sitting there and she was crying her wee eyes out when she saw on the grass a wee mannie. And the wee mannie, he said, "What are you crying there for, lass?" And Two Eyes told him how hungry she was. And the wee mannie, he said, "Ach, we can do something about that." And he told her to rub the wee pet goat behind its ears and to say the words, "Bleat, little goat, bleat, and give me something good to eat." Well, Two Eyes did this, and a feast appeared on a crisp white tablecloth. There was chicken and fish and beef and salad and cakes and sweets. And if you can think of anything else that should be in a feast, well, I can tell you it was there too. And Two Eyes invited the wee mannie to join her, and they tore into that feast, and she ate until she could eat no more. But still there was a lot of food left. And Two Eyes asked the wee mannie what to do about it. And he said, "Oh, hi, that's no bother," he said. And he told her to say to the little goat, "Bay, little goat, bay, and take the good food away." So she did, and the food disappeared. Well, after that, Two Eyes was able to have a secret feast every day when she was up the hill, and she was much happier. But her stepmother began to notice that Two Eyes, well, her cheeks were getting a healthy glow, and sometimes she even refused her bowl of porridge in the evening and went to bed early, and she thought something must be going on. So she called her other two daughters and she said, One Eye, there's something going on up that hill. You go up with her tomorrow and keep your eye on her the whole time. So One Eye did. And at first Two Eyes was glad of the company, but she realised she couldn't have her secret feast with One Eye watching. So she led her sister over to where there was a nice soft patch of grass and told her to lie down and relax. And Two Eyes sang her a sweet lullaby, and One Eye fell fast asleep. And then Two Eyes picked up the little goat, rubbed it behind its ears and said, Bleat, little goat, bleat, and give me something good to eat. And Two Eyes had her feast as usual. And when the feast was done and all put away, One Eye woke up and she yawned and stretched and said, Did I miss something? No, not at all, said Two Eyes. And when they went home and Two Eyes had gone to bed, the stepmother, she said, Well, One Eye, what did you see up in the hill today? And One Eye said, Nothing, mother, nothing at all. Did you keep your eye on her the whole time? Well, I did, but I had a wee nap in the middle of it. Oh, said the stepmother, you're useless. Three Eyes, she called. You go up the hill with her tomorrow and make sure you keep all your eyes on her the whole time. So the next day, Three Eyes went up the hill, and at first Two Eyes was glad of the company. But then she realised about the feast and she decided to play the same trick as on One Eye. She took her to a nice soft patch of grass and sang her a lullaby, and Three Eyes went to sleep. Or she pretended to go to sleep, but really the eye in the middle of her forehead was still a wee bit open. And she watched Two Eyes as she rubbed the wee goat behind the ears and said the magic words, and she saw the feast appear, and she tried not to jump up in surprise, but she watched it all. And when the feast was put away, Three Eyes pretended to yawn and stretch and wake up and say, Have I missed something? And Two Eyes said, No, not at all. And they went home. But that night, when the mother asked Three Eyes what she'd seen up the hill, Three Eyes said, Mother, you wouldn't believe it. That wee goat, it's a magic wee goat. It gives her food. Well, said the mother, we'll soon put a stop to that. And she went outside and she told the gardener to kill that wee goat. Well, the next morning, Two Eyes, when she couldn't find the goat, she asked her stepmother where it was. And the mother said, The wee goat's dead. There'll be no more wee goat for you. Well, Two Eyes, she ran up the hill, sobbing her wee heart out, for she'd lost her only friend in the whole world. Until again, the wee Mannie appeared. What are you crying for now, lass? He said. When Two Eyes told him, he said, he says, that's terrible hard for you. But I'll tell you what you can do to soothe your grief. And the wee Mannie told her to go back home and ask her stepmother for the wee goat's heart, and to take the heart and to bury it in the garden, to say a few prayers over it and shed a few tears. And then she was to think of all her memories of her days with the wee goat, and to wrap the memories up and to put them in her own heart and cherish them. Well, that's what Two Eyes did. And after she'd buried the heart and said her prayers and tears and thought of the memories, she felt a wee bit better and she went to bed. Well, the next morning, when Two Eyes woke up, there was a bright golden light shining in the window, and she thought she'd slept past midday. When she looked out the window, didn't you see a great, beautiful, big apple tree growing out of the spot where she'd buried the heart? And those apples, they weren't red or green like the apples you and I normally eat. They were made of gold. Well, Two Eyes went running down the stairs, and there was the stepmother glaring at this tree too. Well, just then, a handsome prince came riding by on a horse, and he stopped when he saw this remarkable tree, and he said to the mother, "Is this your tree?" "Aye, it is. Sure, isn't it in my garden? It must be my tree." "Well, may I buy one of the apples?" "Ah, certainly you can." And the mother became a bit friendlier when he mentioned buying an apple. She reached up to take an apple, but in that moment, all the branches of that tree flew upwards, away out of her grasp, and she couldn't reach it. "I don't think it is your tree after all," said the prince. "Well, no," said the mother, "it's my daughter's tree." "Three Eyes," she called, and Three Eyes came out. "Is this your tree?" said the prince. "Aye," said Three Eyes. "Well, may I buy one of the apples?" "No bother," said Three Eyes, and she reached up to grab an apple. But the branches this time all flew away back round to the back of the tree. "I don't think it is your tree, is it?" said the prince. "No," said Three Eyes, "it's my sister's." "One Eye," she called. Well, One Eye came out, and she told the prince it was her tree. "Well, can I buy one of the apples?" he said. "Certainly." And she reached up, but again the branches all flew up out of her reach. And the prince said, "I don't think it is your tree after all, is it?" "No," said One Eye. And just then, an apple fell down off the tree all by itself, and it rolled away down the path, and it stopped at the back door where Two Eyes was standing watching. And she came over, and the prince said, "Is this your tree?" "Yes," said Two Eyes. "Well, may I buy one of the apples?" "Certainly," she said. And she reached up and she picked a golden apple and she gave it to the prince. And he looked deep into her eyes. "Would you like to come away with me and be my bride?" And Two Eyes looked at him and she liked him. "Yes," she said, "I would like that very much, if you can promise me more for my dinner than a bowl of cold porridge." Well, the prince lifted her up onto his horse and they rode away together. And that's how Two Eyes got herself a whole new family who loved her very, very much. And I can tell you, she was very, very happy.